Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Irv Homer Show. Today is the 18th of August, and I can't believe that Labor Day will be approaching rapidly within about 2 weeks. This program is brought to you courtesy of Irv Homer. We're broadcasting from irvhomer.com, and we enjoy doing this program, receiving quite a few emails and a lot of conversation as a result of the program. Of course, it's put together by the genius of computers, RGH Computer Services, namely my son, little bragging there. And you can contact him if you have a problem with your computer, if you have any technical problem with your computers at all, or if you want to set up like we have here in the Irv Homer Lounge. Their telephone number is 215-322-8685, 215-322-8685, and you too can be doing a program like this. I have no idea what the charge would be, but if you contact RGH Computer Services, they can give you all the information you need, and you too can do your own program. It's very interesting and informative. If you've got something to say, you're afraid to call a talk show, you're afraid to call, you don't want to hang on the line, do it yourself. Wouldn't hurt. Many people do it. Of course, we are in the, I guess, the summer doldrums now, waiting until Labor Day for people to get finished with the vacations, and of course waiting for the grand finale of the Olympics. And I think at that point maybe people will look at the serious things that are happening around the world. And I really don't know, ladies and gentlemen. If you read the paper, you could be the prophet of doom, and you could say, oh my God, the end of the world is coming. But in another observation, and if you remember the show Fiddler on the Roof, but on the other hand, I'm going to pose a question that may sound silly, but taking a careful observation between the last few weeks and making inquiries, I was trying to figure out where the recession is. And you're going to say, well, things are until they're going to, but let's be realistic. I had the occasion to be in Center City, Philadelphia last week. The building of condominiums is just unbelievable. And they're not $200,000 condominiums. They're condominiums that are selling for $1 million, $600,000, $400,000 along the waterfront condominiums. Now you must remember that if the condo sells for $700,000, $1 million, the monthly service on them, I guess, is about $2,500 a year. They even condo the cars that you own. So I'm really asking, where is the recession in America? Is it in certain belts, say Detroit, Michigan, in the automobile industry? Is it in the medical field? Where is the recession? Where is it hitting you people? And if you want, send me an email with some of your thoughts. You can send it to evilerv@irvhomer.com. That's my email address. Shopping malls are being built in areas that were farmlands. There is no such thing anymore, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I know, as the suburbs. The suburbs are now incorporated into a whole structure of megalopolis and shopping malls and entertainment centers. And the shopping malls that are new are one thing, but now I'm reading in the paper they're going to spend $300 to some million to redo Oxford Valley Mall. There was a rumor that Oxford Valley Mall was going to close down. There was a rumor that Franklin Mills was going to shut down. But money is being poured into these ventures from someplace. And what I fear is, are we creating a shopping mall and building condo and going to end up with the same prime rate interest problem that we had with residential homes? Big problem was that people were overbuying homes, $500,000 homes, $600,000 homes, and they just can't make the nut. Well, is it now going into a whole new phase of shopping centers, industrial parks, office buildings and more condos, and that will be the new failure, because the economy doesn't seem to be growing enough to be able to match the cost of living in these places and maintaining them. So somewhere along the line, something doesn't add up. As far as traffic is concerned, I don't see that much diminution of traffic on the highways in America where I drive. I've been down to Rehoboth 2 or 3 times, which is 135 miles from Philadelphia or Bucks County, where I reside. I've been to Atlantic City, Ocean City, seen traffic jams on Street Road. Where I live within the proximity of Street Road, or it almost seems like it's the Ho Chi Minh Trail. I think you could move supplies and ammunition in Vietnam faster than you can on Street Road at traffic time, and even during the day. Also, I would say that City Avenue, which separates Philadelphia from Lower Merion, traffic is unreal. Now, I'm not talking about the price of gasoline that I think coming here today was $3.59 a gallon, but I'm talking about automobiles that must be going someplace. It must be going someplace. The casinos, whether they're crying poor mouth or not about their loss of revenue, are still generating billions and billions of dollars of income, not only from the gambling in the casinos, but in the non-gambling part of the casino. The non-gambling revenue, as far as the restaurants, entertainment, shops, is tremendous. So my question is, where is the recession in America, and who is hurting? Maybe you will find some individual in your neighborhood, or maybe one member of your family. But by and large, there is no boycott of gas prices. Even when it was $4, it'll probably go back up again after the election. I believe after the election it's going to be crunch time, regardless of who gets elected. But someplace along the line, something doesn't add up, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't add up. With all of this activity that's going on in this country, the airlines, people are flying at a rate today, I don't think it's going down, maybe 2%, maybe 2.5%. So someplace along the line, folks, do you get the idea that things are not as bad as the economic pundits do, or the so-called prophets of doom? I've been accused of being a prophet of doom because of one reason, and that was, I've mentioned times before, that I was dead broke in my life. Married, 2 children at the time, and went broke. Made a bad investment, bad investment. And I've made a promise to myself I would never be in that position ever again in my life. And fortunately, I managed to never be in that position again. And now in my retirement, I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. Let me put it that way. Unless something dramatic happens, where the investments that we have just collapse totally. But someplace along the line, folks, something doesn't add up. And I can't put my finger on what it is. I know the consumer debt in America is outrageous. I know we owe money like mad. I don't. Many of you folks, when they say the average debt per credit card is $8,600, some people owe $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on a credit card. Well, are you living on your credit card? The good life with a credit card? I don't know. But you constantly hear of credit card counselors all over the place, advertised on radio. There are more advertisements today on radio and television that if you want Uncle Sam more than $10,000, give us a call. We have former IRS agents who can help you reduce your liability. Well, if you've got all these people that are behind in their taxes, and these guys are going to make a deal, then the government's going to get cheated out or reduce the income from taxes that should be owed to making a deal on so many pennies on the dollar. So across the board, it seems to me that there's something fishy going on economically. If you take a look at the Olympics, thousands of Americans went to Beijing, China, and spent thousands of dollars. That costs money to attend those Olympics. It costs money. And yet apparently it didn't diminish the amount of Americans that attended the Olympics. Did they all put it on their credit card? I don't know. Did the Chinese government subsidize their travel? I don't know. Did America subsidize our people? I don't know. And I don't like to live where I don't know the answer. But someplace, maybe in the ether of this television program, and I've spoken to economists, and I've spoken to political investment advisors, I've spoken to all these guys. They're no help. They give you a projection of what used to be, what should be. They have no answers to what's going on right now. But I would like to know, because it doesn't reflect. Do you see old cars on the street? I don't. But I do find something very interesting. As I leave Bucks County, where I reside, and I don't live in the rich section of Bucks County, I'd say we're upper middle class. Lower upper. I mean, lower middle class, upper class. I don't know, but we're not rich people, I don't think, in this community where I reside. But as you drive south on Roosevelt Boulevard, Route 1, you will see the automobiles change from the Lexus, the Volvo, and the Mercedes. And as you get down closer to the center or Broad Street on Roosevelt Boulevard, you'll start seeing the Fords, the Chevys, and the Toyotas, and the less expensive automobiles. Just an observation of mine, you may observe the same thing. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, where is the depression? Where is this recession hitting? Is it in savings? Now, I was watching the CD market and the money market now. A few weeks ago, they were giving 4.1 for a 6-month CD with a minimum investment of $5,000. Now it's down to 4% for 10 months. Then today's paper was 4% for 12 months. So did they get enough of the 4% for the 6 month? I don't know. And listening to the pundits on radio and television isn't much help. You have 4 people discussing the stock market, and one says it's a good stock, the other says it's a bad stock. Well, if you've got that kind of money that you can play around with speculation, good for you. I don't speculate on the stock market. I don't need anybody to lose my money. I can lose it myself. So this has been a thing that's been bugging me for a long time. I just don't know what the economic answer is. I think we're living on a house of cards in America. I think we're 1 or 2, I don't know how many people have a cash reserve or have an available source of revenue in the event that you lose your job. I read about these folks with 2 incomes, and the one loses a job, a child gets sick, and within 6 months they're homeless. And who are the homeless? So somewhere along the line, this has been a puzzlement to me. And although we'll get into the international problems in just a moment, but the national problems and the local problems are things that boggle my mind. Locally in the Bucks County area, the Bucks County Courier-Times publishes almost a daily criminal log report who's been convicted of a crime, who's been charged with a crime. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I watch it very carefully. We must have more drunks driving in Bucks County than anywhere else because they're the only ones I read about being reported. The DUI arrests or car stops in Bucks County in the paper is unbelievable. I have no problem with you drinking, getting drunk, passing out, getting cirrhosis of the liver. I don't, and you have a right to do that. That's one right I'm going to give you, as I give you as many rights as the Constitution provides for it. But you don't have the right to get on the highways in Bucks County, Philadelphia County, or America and get drunk and jeopardize my life, or my neighbor's life, or my children's lives, or my grandchildren's life. You don't have that right to do that. So I don't want to deny you the right to drink. I don't want to deny you the right to get plastered. I don't want to give you the right to anything you want to. I don't want you jeopardizing my life as you get in that automobile. Now, I don't know why it is so difficult to pass legislation that if it's proven that you were driving while intoxicated under the influence, with no extenuating circumstances, that your car cannot be confiscated. And it boggles my mind, folks, because if I commit a crime with a gun, the gun is confiscated. Right? And a gun is only about that big. Maybe it's that big. Most people commit crime carry a gun about that big. Don't get caught with a gun killing somebody, or you'll be sitting in the pokey for a long time. And that gun's confiscated. After the first arrest, they don't say to you, well, you killed Louis Farfalitis up the street, but we're going to give you your gun back and you'll be able to go out on the street again and just pay a fine and be a good boy. Yet our crazy society will give you a 3,500-pound vehicle that has 200 horsepower, 250, 165. And do you know what that is? You know what a 165 horsepower automobile is? Sit in the automobile and picture 165 horses in front of that car pulling it. That's the power of an automobile with 165 horsepower. Now, would you want to be on the road when the 165 horses are coming at you? And why my gun can be confiscated if I just shoot it? I shoot it in the air. But you can get a DUI and they don't confiscate your car. Or the owner of the car who gave you permission to drive it. Ladies and gentlemen, does that make sense? Does that make sense? And if you don't believe it, take a gun and shoot it in the air and see what happens. And if you get away with that, then get drunk. And speed, and get stopped by a police officer. They'll take you to the pokey, hold you maybe till you sober up, and then call your spouse to come, or your kid to come and pick up the car, bring it home. Turning a lethal weapon, namely an automobile or an SUV or a Hummer, whatever you want to call it, turning that thing back on the road again so that you can get drunk and do it again. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. We have more automobile deaths from DUIs and excessive speed than we do by guns. And yet we're concerned about gun violence. We may as well take our speed limit signs that you see posted on our highways, throw them away. Why waste money putting 25, 35, 45, 55 mile an hour zone limits on it? And I'm guilty of it. I'll give you an experience that I had last week. As you know, Paul Norton of Channel 6 had passed away, and the funeral was in Lewis, Delaware, which is 130 miles from here. And so I was running a little late, and thankfully the state of Delaware has convenient and clean rest stops. I pulled into the rest stop and paid my extension to the commode there, and went out and saw a gentleman standing there, and I said, how long will it take me to get to Lewis from here? He always said about an hour. I said, well, I've got 45 minutes to make it. He said, well, if you exceed the speed limit, you could make it 3/4 of an hour. I said, well, I'm not too happy about exceeding. I'll go maybe 5 miles an hour over the speed limit and cruise control. He said, well, don't worry about it, because the police don't start patrolling the roads till 11 o'clock. Now, I had to be in Lewis by 11 o'clock. I said, well, how do you know? He says, because I'm a state trooper. I said, what? He said, I'm a state trooper. I don't go on duty till 11. We don't patrol the roads till 11. I said, why are you telling me? Well, then he recognized who I was. Down in Delaware. Very proud of that. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't been, well, I'm on television, but I haven't been on commercial radio, I would say, since the year 2000. It's been 8 years ago since I had a regular radio program. And the recognition that I receive from you folks out there, when I go into the drugstore, if I go to a supermarket, if I go to a restaurant, it's absolutely amazing. I do believe it's because of Channel 6 television recognition, not that much of radio. But whatever it is, I have a high visibility profile, and I guess the officer knew it. But the speed limit was 65 miles an hour, and I was doing 80. I'll admit it, I'm doing 80. And I have to tell you that the car that I drive is a new car, well capable of doing 80 without too much difficulty. But I said, what's the sense in having that 65 mile an hour sign posted if I'm doing 80 and nobody's stopping me? So we have laws that nobody pays attention to. Now, there are little towns in Delaware, Milford, Milton, Harrington. That sign says 25 or 15. You better go 25 or 15. They do not play games down there. So when you're doing 80 on a 65-mile highway, you get off the main highway, you're now in a small town that says 25 or 15. You better pay attention. Do not go off the main highway in the state of Delaware or Virginia onto a small town, and don't get caught drunk driving your vehicle. So we have this crazy law for driving under intoxication, driving under the influence, and you can keep the weapon that you violated the law with. Well, maybe they should start confiscating your car. You see, it doesn't make sense. They'll confiscate your license for a year, for 30 days, but leave the car sitting in the driveway. Doesn't make sense to me.
I'm sorry, just to let you know, we have a listener on right now from Milton, Delaware.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, tell him to our listener from Milton, Delaware. Am I right? Am I right down there in Milton, Delaware? And I'm familiar with the Hilton of Milton, the motel that's down there. I like Milton. It's a neat little town. So he knows what I'm saying is true, probably. And I don't know if Dawn, the state trooper, is still down there, but she sure is a tough cookie to deal with. Maybe Dawn's retired by now. I don't know. But I do respect the Delaware State Police as I respect the Pennsylvania State Police.
Yes, they say, yes, you are so right.
Dawn, great. Well, we do have a message board here, and you can contact us on the message board. And Ron will give me your questions if you so desire. So if we have a disregard for the law in which our lives are at risk, ladies and gentlemen, driving, drinking, guns, why should we pay attention to any of the other laws? Well, I got away with drinking and driving. I got away with speeding. I may as well try to push the button a little bit further and get away with that too. Well, these are just some of the observations, ladies and gentlemen, that I've had these past couple of weeks. So let's now move on to the national scene of nationally politics. The Democrat convention will be in 2 weeks. And according to the rumors and the pundits and the political geniuses, Barack Obama may announce tonight his vice presidential candidate. I sure hope they check all the motels and all the bimbos to make sure that we're not going to go through another John Edwards story. Not that it bothers me. It should bother the Edwards family. But I've got this dilemma, and I'm sure many of you folks have this mental dilemma too. Do we put someone in office to be one of the elected representatives of us? And that's what politicians are. They're not leaders. We've assumed that these people are our leaders. Well, these people are our servants. And they represent you and me in the state houses, in the local councils, in the local supervisors, in the local Congress, in the National Congress. They represent you and me. And we don't want any immorality to represent us. So we should have a thorough sexual scanning put in the Constitution that if you screwed around, you can't run for office. You see? But it's not there. And so the question is, why did John Edwards get all bent out of shape? Why don't these people who get caught doing something like John Edwards, Mendel Rivers years ago, Bob Barr, well, a lot of the Republican managers that prosecuted Bill Clinton were found, Henry Hyde, the white-haired gentleman who at 44 committed a sexual indiscretion. He said it was a childhood indiscretion. Hello? But you're not going to hear about that on the right-wing pundits. All the Democrats are, pardon my expression, all the Democrats are whore masters, and all the Republicans are celibate. But I've got a list of all the Republicans that got caught with their you-know-whats in the wrong place. But I would much rather have a diplomat, a negotiator, a sharp article, who had the fastest pants in Washington than some dodo that we've got there now. His big claim to fame is what? What is this president's claim to fame to make him eligible to be the president of the United States? None. He's 35, was over 35, and natural born. But he lived a moral life. Get out of here. My argument with Bill Clinton, with the cover-up of the Monica Lewinsky affair. You got caught, so get on television. Ladies and gentlemen, I, the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, had an affair with Monica Lewinsky in the White House. Did it hurt your did I raise your taxes? No. Did it kill anybody? No. Did I get you in a war? No. Did it hurt you? That I had an affair in the White House? I could get more graphic. But as the program grows, there are more and more people listen who may get offended at some of my brutish language. But you know what I'm talking about. Didn't hurt me that Bill Clinton dropped his drawers in the White House. Didn't hurt me that many politicians, mayors in the city of Philadelphia, one who you were very familiar with in interviewing a certain entertainer lady, said that he had the fastest pants in City Hall. And I'm sure she wasn't referring to the fact that this gentleman had to go to the bathroom. So if the person is good for what I elect him for, to serve me, I don't care if he bangs the whole city council. It is the cover-up and the false morality that is choking us to death. And it's the cover-up that can kill you. Richard Nixon, fine gentleman. Loyal, I'm sure, to Pat Nixon, because if you looked at Richard Nixon, who would shack up with him? He wasn't exactly a sex symbol. I'm sure was faithful and true to Pat Nixon. And what a wonderful president. Oh, God. Jimmy Carter, a man of virtue and peanuts. I'm sure was a virtuous president. A disaster. A disaster. One guy I think in my lifetime I think was pretty good, and pretty loyal at the best. I think that was Harry Truman. But if you go down the list of our congressmen and senators, they're just plain ordinary people. They're not saints. They're businessmen. Most of them now are lawyers. God forbid. But they're human. What do you expect of them? But it's the cover-up. So now, John McCain has to look for a vice presidential candidate, and Barack Obama does. So after we have examined the blood type and the moral fiber of John McCain, who left his wife when he came back from Vietnam because she had been in an automobile accident and disfigured. And that's John's business. Of course, the new gal is not a bad-looking chick, his wife today. Can I hold that against John McCain? I can't hold it against John McCain. She's a hottie. McCain's wife is a hottie, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, she is.
She's a hottie. And of course, Michelle Obama is not exactly Lena Horne, if you know what I mean. So both candidates now are going to have to find vice presidents that, as they say in politics, they're only a heartbeat away from the president. And they've got a problem. The races, according to the, oh God, these polls, don't they get on your nerves? A daily poll. Every day there's another poll and another poll and another poll and another poll. The poll. And so now we're going to be splendorized by getting the inside of the families of the vice presidential candidates. And of course, once the media gets away from the Olympics, look out, guys and gals, and if you're going to be selected as the vice presidential candidate, you're next. All them reporters will be coming back from Beijing, And the assignment editors are now sitting there. We've got assignments for Huckabee. We've got assignments for Clinton. We've got assignments for every Democrat, for Joe Biden. Just waiting for them to pick out which vice presidential candidate they want. And then there'll be a slew of paparazzi down there to find out everything, including their DNA. So we'll be subjected to that. Then there'll be discussion. Well, this vice president, then this guy, then the other thing. But let's deal, ladies and gentlemen, with another thing that boggles my mind. That was my expression. I'm glad to see it used all over the country today, because I never knew what a boggle was. Till I had a teacher once tell me, this subject will boggle your mind. What's that mean, teach? Well, look up the word boggle, you'll see what it means. I did. What boggles my mind is this. Isn't it amazing, folks? If I had two people, one said, is abortion a major issue today in this election? Oh, yes, yes. Well, what about $4 a gallon gasoline? Oh. Now, who should I vote for? A pro-life or a pro-choice, or vote for a guy that's going to get gasoline down to $2 a gallon? Now, something very interesting took place. In the last program, I am still outraged over the fact that both Barack Obama and John McCain were suckered into this Rick Warren at the Saddleback Church to have this so-called debate or ask questions by Rick Warren, who is the new prophet of the right. And I looked into a little bit to who this Rick Warren is. Rick Warren is a very sharp promoter. Make no mistake about it. He has adopted the look of a liberal. He has the goatee and the mustache. Now, Pat Robertson doesn't have one. Jerry Falwell doesn't have one. The crybaby that got caught, Jimmy Swaggart, the crybaby that got caught in a motel with a hooker. He don't have a mustache and a goatee. And of course, my favorite, Jimmy Baker. I like Jim and Tammy Baker. I don't care what you people say. So he screwed out of about a couple $1 million. But I enjoyed that show, PTL. I think Tammy died, didn't she? Well, let her rest in peace. But this guy has done something different. He has learned where the other right-wing fundamentalists made a mistake. But he also did a certain compromise. He adopted the look of a liberal with the goatee and the mustache. So now he's not a threat to the left. But he managed to do something that Swaggart couldn't do, that Robertson couldn't do, and Falwell couldn't do, and get them both in his church at the same time. But he did, and he does. The new conservative is what they call love bombing. They bomb you with love while their hand is in your pocket, emptying it out. Even Robert Schuller, with a great class cathedral, was not a love bomber. He ended up being an interviewer. Look, I give the guy credit. If you can sell something that you can't guarantee and make $1 gazillion of it, like heaven, you're pretty sharp. You can't sue them either for false advertising. You can't sue them for anything. No product liability. But what Rick Warren does, he love bombs you, which means he is an ultra-conservative on the right, but he love bombs the left. And they don't fear him, because he doesn't preach hate. He preaches love. Think about this guy. Watch him. Very clever guy. But he's not fooling me. It's the same guy. It's the same message, but transposed into love bombing. Be careful people that love bomb you. They'll convert you faster than a hater will. You can take a look at all the great dictators. The Hitlers, the Maos, the Stalins. They love bomb by giving you national identity. And then they move over to the evil side through the love bombing. Hitler did for German nationalism that no one ever did before. Caesar did it. Alexander the Great did it. Hannibal did it. The man who really did it without violence was Mahatma Gandhi. He did it with love. He love bombed the British. He love bombed his enemy. And by love bombing his enemy, the British occupying forces of India, his people followed that love message. The cause was right, and the man was right. So the cause of national identity under Hitler, Stalin, and Mao was right. But the results were evil. That's what Rick Warren does. Don't fool him. Don't hold this guy too cheap. As I said in the last program, I resent the fact that these two political candidates appeared in that church. Or a synagogue, or any place. They don't belong there. They don't belong there. What would happen, ladies and gentlemen, if Barack Obama and John McCain appeared in St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York? The fundamentalist Christian does not like Catholicism. I repeat, the fundamentalist Christians do not like Catholicism. So why don't you Catholics demand that Obama and McCain appear at St. Patrick's Cathedral with the Cardinal up there? Forget who the Cardinal is now. Maybe Cardinal Regali here in Philadelphia. St. Peter and St. Paul's Church. Why not? Why the two political prostitutes, McCain and Obama, did they appear in a fundamentalist Christian church but ignored appearing in a Catholic church? If I were a Catholic, I would be offended. I wouldn't vote for either one of them. I'd vote for the Pope. You see what I'm saying? You see the type of logic that is in my brain that's not in yours? How dare them to profess their belief in Jesus Christ at the Saddleback Church, but will not do it at St. Patrick's Cathedral or St. Peter and St. Paul in Philadelphia. Bet you never thought of that, did you? Or maybe one of the giant synagogues in America. We have some big ones in America. We don't have any Jewish rabbis, except in the certain Orthodox faith that are the leaders of the Jews. The only thing two Jews can agree upon is that the third one doesn't know what he's talking about. But we don't have a chief rabbi of our parish or our congregation or group of congregations. We have organizations, B'nai B'rith, and Hillel, and all these other organizations. But aren't you Catholics offended? Who was Rick Warren and the fundamentalist Christian to get the two presidential candidates in the Saddleback Church but won't appear in a Catholic church like St. Peter and St. Paul or St. Patrick's in New York? But you never thought of that, did you? Never thought of that, did you? I did. So now we're going to have a president potential president candidates, picking vice presidential candidates, and hopefully, both sides they'll be acceptable to both sides. Then we'll see the fall away the convention, spending millions of dollars on these conventions where the candidate has already announced. So what have the convention for? But once again, there'll be millions of dollars spent on the convention in an economy that is bad, allegedly bad. Now, if the Dems and the Republicans are so concerned about the economy, would you think they would cancel those conventions? With all of the electronic wizardry today, internet, email, voicemail, everything that's conducted at those conventions could be conducted electronically. I'm Irv Homer. That's Irv Homer. No, that's my real name, folks. Getting into radio and television, had I taken this business seriously, I would have probably used Robert Redford, but the name was taken. And we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com, my website. Check it out, www.irvhomer.com. Send me those emails, evilerv@irvhomer.com. That's evilerv, one word, at irvhomer, one word.com. And this whole package is put together by RGH Computer Services, who is your answer to any computer problem you have. Or if you want this type of system set up in your place of business, your office, they'll show you how to do it. Their telephone number is 215-322-8685. 215-322-8685. The first commercial radio station that I worked on, which was a little 500 watter, powerful little station though, because you know why? They created, and I don't know whether this is a copyrighted name or not, but we referred to it, the late great Win Moore, who put the package together at WEEZ in Chester. He put together the concept called People Power Radio. And we were people power. We were such people power on a little radio station there that we got elected the first Democrat congressman, Bob Edgar, in Delaware County that they've ever seen in I don't know how many years. I think Bob Edgar now is the head of the National Council of Churches. But although he was a minister, he was elected the first Democrat from Delaware County as a result of a little people power radio station. So we may be small in our infancy here, but we people have the power to do things. We have the power to change things. We have the power of educating ourselves. We have the power to ask the right questions. We have the right power to look inside and question things that are happening. Each and every one of you have the ability to think as I do. You may be afraid to, you may be limited, you may be reluctant to. I don't know what it is. But what a great feeling it is to be with a group of folks and you know a lot of the answers to the problems that they throw out. You suddenly become the star of the evening. You didn't ask for it. It's just that you know the answers because you informed yourself, or you listened to this program and listened to me over the years and learned how to think, how to ask questions, and never be afraid to admit that you just don't know the answer. As I said tonight, this program is dedicated to the I don't know the answer. And by you folks listening, or you folks getting onto the archive, and you can be archived, maybe we'll find the answer to it. Maybe we'll find the answer to why the economy looks good. Shopping centers are busy and malls are busy. Back to school, they'll probably spend about $3, $4, $5 billion in back to school stuff, clothes and shoes and outlet stores and flea markets. My God, there was a flea market that emptied out yesterday, Sunday. Must have been 10,000 cars there and people there. There's no shortage of cash at the flea markets. So there is money around. So where is the gloom and doom from the economy? I don't know. Running short of time, folks. Now we'll get to the I don't know again. If you read the paper, listen to the news, sometimes these places make the news instead of reporting it. That goes for the left and the right. I don't want to hear the right thinking they have an exclusivity on honesty, truthfulness, or fair and balanced. But we hear of the situation of Russia that allegedly is withdrawing from Georgia and Alsatia. And we're looking at the statements of Putin, who said that if you go ahead and put missile defense system in Poland, force is an option to stop it. People refer to Ahmadinejad of Iran as a crazy man. I don't. I do not, ladies and gentlemen, I do not look at anyone who says they want to kill me or my neighbor and think they're crazy. Ahmadinejad is not a crazy man. Vladimir Putin of Russia is not a crazy man. These are well-calculated men with brilliant advisors on how to pacify the West. We feel bad for 4,000 men that have been killed in 7.5 years, 18,000 wounded. They lose 4,000. It's a badge of honor. They died for glory. You must know your enemy to be able to defeat them. And so I take Putin very seriously when he said that the Russian military will take some type of offensive action against Poland if we put missiles in there. Under the obligation of treaties we have with NATO, of which Poland is part of, we will have to go in and either attack Russia or become a paper tiger. We're involved in 2 wars right now that we can't handle. Latest report, yes, the surge worked. Surge. They increased the troops. Come up with these fancy words. A surge, a purge, an advance. You people buy that garbage. That's your problem, not mine. So America just withdrew from a town, Pazalak, in Iraq. They turned it over to the Iraqi police department. The Iraqi police department defected, and they killed about 200 people. Al-Qaeda is regrouping. Musharraf is now no longer in Pakistan. And now we have a problem between Pakistan and India, and the new head of Pakistan is an Al-Qaeda. 67% of the people, ladies and gentlemen, if you can go by the polls, and I'm only recording with the polls, 67% of the people in Pakistan support Osama bin Laden. 67% of the people support Osama bin Laden. But that doesn't bother me. You know why? I don't know how many of you read the Philadelphia paper. There's a law firm in Philadelphia called Cozen, C-O-Z-E-N. One of the best law firms in the world. They brought a lawsuit against Saudi Arabia with all of the information and investigation. This law firm must have spent millions of dollars and getting the information to sue the Saudi Arabian government because they, like me, believe that Saudi Arabia was responsible for the bombing of the World Trade Center, of which we have the 7th anniversary coming up very shortly in September. Under no circumstances, and I don't care what you say, what the 50,000 generals that have already been fired from that Middle East war say, Saudi Arabia committed that atrocity at the World Trade Center. And the law firm of Cozen, I believe it was Cozen, it used to be Cozen O'Connor. I don't know whether it is today or not. I should have cut the papers out, but not one of those talk shows that cuts papers and puts newspapers all. You ever seen them? They're all over the place, all the newspapers. They underline them. I'm like, I don't do that. I read it and I retain it in my mouth, and then I pass the information to others. Check it out for yourself. COZEN. Find out the lawsuit that they filed against the Saudi Arabian government for the destruction of the World Trade Center. And they lost the case with the most frivolous argument that was presented by the opposing team, because Saudi Arabia is our buddy. Saudi Arabia is friends of the Bush family. Saudi Arabia, as our ally, can do no wrong. But Saudi Arabia is led by the Wahhabis, not by the Arabs. The Wahhabi sect is a killer sect. There's the ones that have the madrasas in their schools to teach their kids how to hate America, how to kill the Christian and the Jew. They're our allies. That's what's in the school. We can't have troops in Saudi Arabia. That's our allies. Cozen law firm, bless their soul, bless their heart, bless their patriotic feeling. It's a law firm that should be recognized with a Congressional Medal of Honor. But after Saudi Arabia. And you lawyers out there that profess to be lawyers, you want to read a case, read that case of why and how they lost. Blow your mind. I'm not a lawyer, so I had to read it 3 or 4 times and read the excerpts and the highlights from it to understand what it was. So now we got Pakistan, which is shaky right now between India and Pakistan because they don't like each other. You got 67% of the people in Pakistan now are going to support the new leader of Pakistan, who, like Osama bin Laden, and everybody's going to get Osama. Osama bin Laden had a peripheral part of that attack on the World Trade Center. It was Saudi Arabia. That was a state-sponsored terrorist act, and I don't give a damn what anybody tells me. And I was glad to know that after all my angst of 7.5 years since the World Trade Center went down, I finally found a law firm of people with far more intelligence than me who knew that it was Saudi Arabia and not Osama bin Laden, who played a part in it, but not the big part. So now with these sabers being rattled in Iran and in Russia, what kind of military do we have? I'm not a warmonger, but I do believe that the best offense is a strong defense. We don't have enough troops on the borders of Mexico to prevent the illegal immigration and drugs that are coming across the border. We may not have enough troops in case of a natural disaster. We have a hurricane going in Florida. Is there enough National Guard troops down there? We have no volunteer National Guard. We're pulling families away. Saw a picture of a baby, maybe 2-3 years old, holding her mother's hand, and the mother was going to Iraq. What the hell kind of army do we have that mothers with 3-year-old babies are going into combat areas? Are we nuts? You women are crazy. You're going to leave your 3-year-old baby to go to Iraq. You must be nuts, lady, and I don't want to serve with you, and I don't want my sons and my grandson to serve with you because you're a nutcase. You're going to leave a 3-year-old baby to put a military uniform, You're not saving me one goddamn bit. Pardon my French. You've got a penis complex. You better get over it. So the big question is, folks, are we a paper tiger? And what do we do if Russia moves on Poland? What do we do? Do we send our troops in? What troops? Women with 3-year-old babies? Is that what we're going to send in? Charlie Rangel from New York, ultra-liberal. Not criticizing him for being ultra-liberal, but proud of the fact that he's an ultra-liberal. Suggested 4 years ago that we should have a draft. Is it fair, ladies and gentlemen, for volunteers to be dying in Iraq and Afghanistan while we're vacationing and watching the Olympics and having a good time in the casinos and partying? Is there no human sacrifice that America makes for our servicemen and women who are in a damn stupid war led by this cowboy in Washington? The people that are suffering are those who are the mothers, the fathers, the spouses, and the children of those men and women that are fighting there. Those that are losing their legs and their arms and being buried secretly because Mr. Bush doesn't want anybody in Dover Air Base to see the bodies being brought in. Doesn't anything sink into you people's heads? So we're going to have a draft army? What are we going to do if we're confronted with the Soviet Union? Suppose Russia moves into Poland, and they will. Russia lost 20 million people in World War II. 20 million civilians. Do you think 1 minute that these people in Russia, the Putins, and his ilk of the KGB, do you think for 1 minute that they're going to allow the United States to put nuclear weapons on their border? Because George Bush said, don't worry about a thing. They're strictly defensive. Did you ever see a defensive gun? Every weapon I know is an offensive weapon. There ain't no such animal as a defensive weapon. So the big question is, ladies and gentlemen, two questions. A, are we in a recession? And B, are we all going to get together with the Russians and the Pakistanis and the Al-Qaeda and all sing Kumbaya at the end and everything will be all right? I don't know the answer to it. If you do, send me an email at evilirv@irvhomer.com. evilirv@irvhomer.com. If you have an answer to the questions that I posed tonight, I would appreciate it. Once again, check out my website at www.irvhomer.com. And once again, we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com, and RGH Computer Services will take care of any of your computer problems, or if you want a system like this set up in your place of business, your office, or even in your home, just give them a call at 215-322-8685. 215-322-8685. And till the next time.